The Mirage Chaser. The Mirage had been lying to Elias for exactly 10 years. Every dawn, it shimmered on the horizon like liquid salvation. Every dusk, it vanished, leaving him with sand in his teeth and fire in his chest. But today his hand would finally touch water, or his bones would bleach white in the desert sun. The endless chase. Elias squinted through the heat waves, his cracked lips moving in a silent prayer. There, the oasis of Ethel, just as the legends promised. Palm trees swayed in an impossible breeze. Crystal water caught the light like scattered diamonds. His feet had worn grooves in this same path. 10,000 steps forward, 10,000 steps back. The oasis always dancing just beyond reach, a beautiful lyre dressed in blue and green. His mother's voice echoed in his sun-baked skull. "Don't ever stop, Elias." So he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. His world had shrunk to this single obsession. Water that wasn't there, shade that mocked him, abundance that fled like smoke. Other travelers had passed him over the years. Some running toward their own mirages, others walking away with empty eyes. One old woman had grabbed his arm with surprising strength. "The oasis of Ethel is not a place, fool. It's a state of being." He torn free from her grip. State of being? What mystical nonsense was that when your tongue swelled like leather and your stomach gnawed itself raw? The perfect betrayal. This morning was different. The shimmer on the horizon solidified. No wavering heat, no dancing edges. Solid. Real. The water so blue it hurt to look at. "It's real!" His voice cracked like breaking glass. "Finally real!" Elias ran. 10 years of careful walking exploded into desperate sprint. His heart hammered against his ribs. The oasis held steady, palm fronds sharp against the sky, water so clear he could see the sandy bottom. 20 yards? 10. 5. He dove forward, hands outstretched for salvation. His palms struck stone. Hot, polished rock that burned like a brand. The water evaporated in an instant. The palms twisted into bleached bones of dead shrubs. He'd been chasing a mirror. A sheet of white rock that caught the sun and threw back his deepest hunger as a perfect lie. Elias collapsed. The betrayal didn't come as shock or rage, it arrived as a sigh. Of course it was this. The seed he sold. Memory ambushed him as he lay broken in the sand. His mother's weathered palm. The single grain of wheat, no bigger than a tear. "This is not just food, Elias. This is a promise." She'd wanted to plant it in their barren garden. Faith over certainty. Hope over hunger. But Elias had seen only the coins it could bring. Enough for bread that would last a week. Practical. Smart. She died 7 days after he sold it. Not from starvation, from the look in her eyes when she realized he'd chosen fear over faith. Don't ever stop. Not stop chasing, he understood now. Stop trusting. Stop believing in promises that couldn't be weighed and measured. The desert wind picked up, filling his mouth with grit. He'd been running from that moment for 10 years, chasing external salvation to fill the hole where trust used to live. The body breaks. The sun climbed higher. Elias tried to stand, but his legs folded like paper. Dehydration burned through his veins like acid. This was it then. This was how it ended. Not with triumph or enlightenment, just a man dying for a lie he'd known was false from the beginning. He closed his eyes and felt something strange. Peace. The first peace he'd known in a decade. He stopped fighting. Stopped planning the next step, the next strategy, the next desperate push forward. For the first time since his mother's death, Elias simply was. A cool breeze touched his face. Impossible in this furnace, but real. Gentle. Fragrant with moisture. The cave's call. He woke to twilight. Still alive, somehow. The mirage was gone, swallowed by purple shadows, and he felt no urge to chase it. Elias stood on unsteady legs and began walking, not toward anything, just away from the place where his hope had finally died. The moon rose, silver and sharp, illuminating something he'd never seen despite walking this path 100 times. A crack in the rock face. Dark. Silent. Uninviting. But he felt pulled toward it. Not the manic pull of chasing, something quieter, deeper. He stepped into the darkness, and cool air wrapped around him like an embrace. In the belly of the earth, the cave was alive with silence. Ancient silence that hummed with its own energy. Elias moved deeper, hands trailing along smooth stone walls. No pressure here. No need to run or chase or find. Just darkness that welcomed him without demanding anything in return. His breathing slowed. His heartbeat settled into steady rhythm. For 10 years, he'd been wound tight as a clock spring. Now, finally, he began to uncoil. Time stretched and blurred. Minutes or hours later, a soft light appeared ahead. Not the harsh glare of desert sun, but gentle luminescence like captured starlight. The crystal heart. The cave opened into a vast chamber lit by clusters of raw crystals growing from the floor. No polished gems, just rough, honest stone pulsing with inner light. Elias stood transfixed. He'd spent a decade chasing reflected light, only to find the source waiting in darkness. The largest crystal's surface showed him a vision, himself, frantic and wild-eyed, running endless circles in the desert above. Chasing. Always chasing. Living from lack instead of abundance. The vision dissolved, leaving only his reflection, still, peaceful, finally home. The understanding. The cave spoke without words. The crystals taught without lessons. In their gentle light, Elias finally understood. The oasis had never been external. It was the stillness he'd found when he stopped running. The abundance had never been about having more. It was about becoming more. His mother's seed had been a metaphor he'd been too afraid to grasp. Some promises require faith, not proof. Some treasures appear only when you stop grasping for them. The desert above was his inner landscape. Barren because he made it so, focused on lack instead of possibility. The mirage was his own desperate need, reflected back at him until he learned to look within. The return. When Elias emerged at sunrise, the world looked different. Not changed, seen. The desert bloomed with subtle colors he'd been too desperate to notice. Small flowers clung to rocks. Light painted the dunes in gold and rose. He walked slowly now, present in each step instead of racing towards some distant goal. 3 days later, he spotted another figure in the distance. A young man running toward a shimmer on the horizon, face twisted with the same manic hope Elias remembered. The runner stopped when he saw Elias, stopped by something in his calm posture, his peaceful expression. The new path. They sat together in the sand. Elias shared his water and his story, not as triumph, but as surrender. "I don't have a map to give you," he said. "I don't know where your oasis is. But I know this, the greatest abundance isn't something you find. It's something you become." The young man listened, and for the first time in months, he stopped looking at the horizon. Started looking within. Elias had been a man chasing lies. Now he was a man living truth, that when you stop running from emptiness, you discover you were never empty at all. The real oasis had been waiting in the last place he thought to look, the stillness of his own heart, found only when he finally stopped chasing long enough to come home to himself. What mirage are you chasing? What cave of stillness might be waiting for you to stop running long enough to find it? The oasis you seek may be closer than you think, not ahead of you, but within you, discovered not through chasing but through the courage to finally stop and be still.